Evening. How is everybody doing this evening? Greetings and salutations. Just in case you're interested, you can hit that like and subscribe down below if you're interested in anything that I've been talking about. Or, you can just leave a message, private message me. That's absolutely fine. I also have a Twitter account. It's at ShizzyWiznut. That's my Twitter account. Same as my email address at gmail.com. Feel free to drop me a message anytime, and I'll get to you when I get to you. Other than that, let's go over just a couple of little things and see what we've got here. So, looks like Thursday, or December 15th, 2022. On December 15th, 2022, several high-profile journalists had their accounts from Twitter platform in an event that was dubbed Thursday Night Massacre. So, of course, the 9 journalists who covered the social media company and its owner, Elon Musk, were all suspended without warning. This included reporters Mr. Keith Olbermann, Stephen L. Herman, Donnie O'Sullivan, and journalists from the New York Times, Washington Post, CNN, and The Intercept. The suspensions were initially described as permanent, but the accounts were reinstated the next day after Musk conducted a Twitter poll. Although the journalists were not initially provided specific reasons for the ban, Twitter and Musk later stated it was a result of doxing due to violations of Twitter's new rules that were created the day before. It was reportedly in response to this guy that follows Elon Musk's Twitter that account and other flight and tracking accounts were suspended from Twitter on the 14th, but continue operating on Facebook, Instagram, Telegram, and Truth Social, along with Mastodon. But hey, that's how sometimes these fools act. So, all that being said, let's get on with our Twitter Files Part 6. I'm tempted to stop covering this stuff because it's basically telling you things that you already know. And if you didn't know, where in the hell have you been? Just saying. So, there we go. So, it basically says right here, the thread, Twitter Files Part 6, Twitter, the FBI's subsidiary. And of course, it goes on with more about the Twitter files, revealing more every day about how the government collects, analyzes, and flags your social media account. We all know this. Twitter's contact with the FBI between January 2022 and November 2022. Over 150 emails between the FBI and Twitter Trust and Safety Chief Yoel Roth. Summer Mundane. Blah, blah. Surprisingly high number of requests by the FBI, the FBI Social Media Task Force, FBI Law Enforcement, reach into Twitter, Department of Homeland Security, there's no secret, blah, blah. Number 10 shows something new. Something new. Agencies like the FBI and DHS regularly sending social media content to Twitter through multiple entry points pre-flagged for moderation. What stands out is the sheer quantity of reports from the government. Some are aggregated from public hotlines. Election Day protocol for FBI headquarters is to stand up a national election command post which provides a centralized location for assessing election-related threats. Status reports and complaints are tracked. Have a tip, send it to the tips at FBI. So that's what they were dumping in there from FBI El Paso. An unanswered question: do agencies like FBI and DHS do in-house flagging work themselves or farm it out? You have to prove to me that inside the effing government you can do any kind of massive data or AI search. Hello, Twitter contacts. The master canine quality of the FBI relationship to Twitter comes through this November 2022 email in which FBI San Francisco is notifying you It wants action on 4 accounts. Mad and pissed off, Malt Thomas. FBI San Francisco is notifying you of below accounts which may potentially constitute violation of Twitter's terms of service for any action or inaction deemed appropriate within Twitter policy. Isn't that interesting? Twitter personnel in that case went on to look for reasons to suspend all 4 accounts, including from MA, whose tweets were almost all jokes. See sample below, including his civic misinformation of November 8th. I've reviewed this already from TD perspective and suspended 3 accounts for multi-account abuse and ban evasion violation. Would you please review from MA for possible civic misinformation or direct to the appropriate part of GET for the review? Thank you, Patrick. I want to remind Republicans to vote tomorrow, Wednesday, November 9th. That's clearly funny. Clowns from the left of me. Propose container ship if there's a worldwide recession. That's pretty funny. Just to show the FBI can be hyper-intrusive in both directions, they also asked Twitter to review a blue-leaning account for different joke, except here it was even more obvious than that. Kids a lot was obviously kidding. FBI San Francisco is notifying you of the below account activities which may potentially constitute violation of Twitter's terms of service. Catherine. Twitter by Brian Wade displayed name Ultra MAGA stating the following: Americans vote today, Democrats, you vote Wednesday the 9th. The tweet was posted on November 8th, 2022. Twitter account claimed her post that she is a ballot counter in her state, and in additional post states, for every negative comment on this post, I'm adding another vote for the Democrats, and if you're not wearing a mask, I'm not counting your vote. That's pretty funny. Anyone who cannot discern obvious satire from reality has no place making decisions or working for the feds. When told about the flagging of the 6 accounts mentioned in the previous 2 emails, all but 2 were suspended. An internal email from November 5th, the FBI's National Election Command posts which complies and sends on complaints, sent the SF field office, San Francisco field office, a long list of accounts that may warrant additional action. And there they are. RSB Network. I don't see anything that Warren Intron, no. Well, that's interesting. Agent Chan passed the list on to his Twitter folks. Twitter then replied with its list of actions taken. Note, mercy shown to actor Billy Baldwin. Many of the above accounts were satirical in nature. Nearly all, with the exceptions of Baldwin and RSB Network, were relatively low engagement, and some were suspended, most with a generic thanks Twitter letter. So let's see what that thanks Twitter letter. Hello, we're writing to let you know that we have reviewed your appeal and your account features will remain locked for or limited for the allotted time or pending completion of the assigned tasks due to violations of the Twitter rules. Attempted voter suppression, including attempted voter intimidation or providing false information about voting or registering to vote, or any unlawful activity is prohibited under our rules. You can review these guidelines. You can tell that people are just getting butthurt over somebody saying, well, Republicans vote on the 10th, Democrats vote on the 8th or the 9th. Should just say they vote in October, whatever. And how is that actually misinformation? If you think about it, there were people voting early. Who's to say they were wrong? I don't know. Oops. Let's go back. I'm told the FBI flagging My thoughts initially included one seems like a prima facie First Amendment violation. Holy cow. Me, an account with the reach of an Amoeba 3. What else are they looking at? I can't believe the FBI is policing jokes. Policing jokes on Twitter. That's crazy. Letter to former Deputy General Counsel and former top FBI lawyer Jim Baker on September 16th, 2022. They outline this. As you can see, their escalations. I handled the following escalations. Policy comes. And that's just people, trying to make themselves bigger and grander than they actually are. You do that to basically pad your books if you're working. Makes it look like you are actually doing work whenever you probably just spent more time on writing that letter than what you actually did. Twitter execs writes she explicitly asked if there were impediments to the sharing of classified information with industry. The answer, FBI was adamant, no impediments to sharing exist. Passage underscores the unique one big happy family vibe between Twitter and the FBI. With what other firm would the FBI blithely agree to no impediments to classified information? At the bottom of that letter, she lists a series of escalations apparently raised at the meeting, which were already handled. Don't know what that is, but I'm not looking at it. About one, she writes, flagged a specific tweet on Illinois use of modems to transmit election results in possible violation of the civic integrity policy, except they do use that tech in limited circumstances. Another internal letter from January 2021 shows Twitter execs processing an FBI list of possible violative content tweets. There you go. 30. Jeez. Most of the tweets contain the same get out of here and vote on Wednesday trope and low engagement. This is what the FBI spends their time on. In this March 2021 email, an FBI liaison thanks a senior Twitter exec for the chance to speak to you and the team, then delivers a packet of products. And that's really it. Nothing more. So that's really all that he has to say about it. So, I mean, I can't really see anything drastic about that. But as I was saying before, see if we've got pull this up right here. And let's find a good source here. Yeah, here we go. Moving on. This up a little bit. See if I can resize that to something usable. Go this way with it. Wait, no. There. And bring this here. Okay. That's close enough. So, this is from the Washington Post. This was on December 14th. Sorry, I wasn't on last night. I was spending time with my lovely wife, as I like to do on occasion. When Michael Livier, I don't know the name, saw quarterback Tom Brady in a commercial for the cryptocurrency trading platform FTX, he knew exactly where he wanted to put his $30,000 crypto investment. Okay. Let me explain it to some of you idiots out there. Trust me, this is not any sort of advice, crypto, anything. It is information. If you have $30,000 worth of crypto, unless you're selling it, do not put it on an exchange. Keep it in cold storage. That's it. It's the only advice I've got. Can't tell you what to buy, where to buy it, who to buy it from. But unless you're selling it or trading it, keep it off of an exchange. People lose lots of money doing that. But as I said, he put $30,000 onto this. Nice. Oh, sorry. So in doing so, this silly person wants Tom Brady to pay up. As a New England Patriot fan my entire life, what does that have to do with anything? Does that mean you're stupid because you're a New England Patriot fan? I mean, I would think not. But you can imagine the influence that Tom Brady would have. You know how much influence Tom Brady has on my life? 0. You know how much someone famous has on my life? 0. Don't buy what they're selling. Do what you want if you're so moved, but don't buy what they're selling. FTX filed for bankruptcy in a spectacular collapse that vaporized at least $10 million in assets, according to bankruptcy filings, including all the money Mr. L had on the platform. Now he's a plaintiff in a proposed class action lawsuit. And notice what they say there. That's a proposed class action lawsuit that seeks to hold Brady, his supermodel, Gazelle, I don't know how to say her name, Budchin, and 9 other celebrity endorsers of FTX financially responsible for luring him into a very bad deal. Okay. Son, you weren't lured. You're just stupid. Get over yourself. Until its collapse, FTX had been one of the world's largest cryptocurrency exchanges and one of the most aggressive at marketing digital cryptocurrencies to the masses. The company had a partnership with National Basketball Association, that'd be the NBA, patches on Major League Baseball, umpire uniforms, the naming rights to the Miami Heat arena. It ran splashy TV ads during NBA and National Football League games, including last year's Super Bowl, in which celebrities portrayed FTX as an exciting but safe place to invest money. Federal prosecutors unsealed an 8-count indictment against Bankman-Fried, alleging fraud and conspiracy charges. The Commodity Futures Trading Commission filed fraud charges against him, seeking restitution for investors and customers in civil court. The Securities and Exchange Commission lobbed its own civil charges at SBF for allegedly orchestrating a scheme to defraud equity investors. On Tuesday, the U.S. government brought both criminal and civil charges. Criminal charges, civil actions against SBF, 30-year-old founder of FTX, accusing him of orchestrating one of the biggest financial frauds in U.S. history, but the odds of restitution for FTX customers like Mr. L are slim. We're not going to be able to recover all the losses here. This is what John J. Ray said in that House committee, which makes sense if somebody was buying multi-million-dollar houses and moving things off of exchanges that weren't there. People lose money like that. This is why you don't keep your money on exchanges. Of course, they will never say this, but use a little bit of intelligence here. So they're trying a different approach, working with Gloria Gable's lawyer, Adam Moskowitz. Their lawsuit seeks to shift the focus from FTX executives to what Moskowitz sees as a larger. Let's just pull this up. See if I can downsize it just a little bit. See if I can go. It's so damn large. That's what she said. There we go. Why is it not showing the whole thing? I would think that it would show. It's crazy. Let's see if I can move that. There we go. Nope. That's all I can get out of it. I'm not going to sit there and screw with that. Anyhow, so it basically just talks about this guy wanting to do a lawsuit. FTX accounts are ruled to be securities. FTX, most crypto in industry. It just sounds to me like, oh boy, his butt hurt. So as we look this over, I've got a pretty cool little audio that I want to play. This is from the hearing. I started listening to it and I thought it might be pretty interesting to comment on it. So what I'll do is I'll just pull this up so you can look at my beautiful face. About that, but let's make sure this has got good audio. And should be starting soon.
Well, the camera isn't on, so we'll see when it comes up. I like to see myself when I'm talking. It's very strange.
So this is docket number 227 2022 1214 audio file. It's taken from the docket. I'll put volume here a little bit. See if that doesn't help. Sometimes it tends to be a little bit lower, so we'll see.
Don't need to see you, Mr. Scheffler. Yeah, primping themselves. Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and fire it up
here. Okay.
Good morning, this is Judge Dorsey. We're on the record in FTX Trading Limited, case number 22-11068. Before we begin, let me just remind everyone that even though this hearing is remote, it is a formal court hearing. So if you are not speaking,
then shut up.
Please keep your camera off and your lines muted. Interruptions will not be tolerated, and you will be removed if you interrupt the proceeding and not be allowed back in.
It's typical.
So with that, I requested this hearing on the motion to shorten that was filed by joint liquidators in the Bahamian proceeding.
So this was filed by the Bahamian liquidators.
Ordinarily, I wouldn't hold a hearing on a motion to shorten, but I wanted to take the opportunity to talk to the parties about where we are in this case and what's going on. It seems to me, I understand that there's a lot of heated debate between the parties here. over what's happening. But I do believe that there must be some path forward here to resolve the concerns of everybody involved. I think everyone would agree. Mr. Bromley, I'll give you the chance to tell me I'm wrong if I'm wrong, but I think everyone agrees that the joint liquidators are entitled to the data and information that relates to their debtor entity.
So what he's basically this, and this is the judge speaking, and he believes that FTX Bahamas should be allowed their debtor, the debtor's information. So basically, they want to get all of the information from FTX, which Sam Bankman-Fried is no longer CEO from.
It's in liquidation in the Bahamas.
It's in liquidation in Bahamas. It's in liquidation in the U.S. It's in liquidation in Japan. It's in liquidation worldwide. FTX all the way around is being liquidated.
Is there any dispute about that issue?
Yes, there is.
Yes, there is, Your Honor.
I'm sorry, there is a dispute, or no, there isn't?
Yes, there is a dispute.
Okay, over whether they're entitled to their own information?
Well, the requests are not just for information, Your Honor. The requests are for dynamic access.
So, I don't know if they'll explain what dynamic access means. It's more than just information about their holdings there. What they're looking for is passwords, wallet addresses, all of the information that FTX might be holding on to with all of those assets being locked up. They want the dynamic information.
Live systems, and we believe that that is inappropriate. So in terms of static information, we are certainly happy to sit down and talk about that.
So FTX is willing to talk about allowing them static information, which means this is the information we have right here. Here you go. But they don't want to give them real-time information going forward.
Dynamic access, we believe, should not be permitted.
How are they going to run their case in the Bahamas if they don't have access, dynamic access to at least their own information? And I separate this out. Is there a distinction? Are you telling me there's an issue with regard to that the only way to provide this information is to provide them access to the entire system?
That's basically what they're saying. Give me just a second. I will be right back. I've got to take care of something real quick. I need to grab myself a new drink, so hold right there. So I'm drinking some Michner's tonight. A little bit of the single barrel straight rye Michner's. I've started enjoying this a little bit more than whenever I first tried it. I'm starting to enjoy the ryes a little bit more. So quite tasty. I'm enjoying them. Anyhow, let's continue on with this. See what they have to say.
And there's some concern about that. Or is there a way to provide just dynamic access to their own information?
I think there's a way, Your Honor, at this point, right, to provide static information. And we're happy to sit down and have a meet and confer about how that static information might be able to be provided. The concern we have with respect to dynamic access to live systems is that we believe that any dynamic access will be provided immediately to the government of the Bahamas, and in particular the Securities Commission. And to date, any access that the Securities Commission has had to our systems has led to the relief from the debtors of digital assets.
So what he just said, in case you're wondering, he said any access that they've given to Bahamas, they've immediately And then we're talking about dynamic access. They've immediately released funds back to the residents of Bahamas or the investors in the Bahamas. So this is why they're very hesitant about doing that.
And we do not believe that that should be permitted. And we do not believe that there is a separation between the JPLs and the Securities Commission at this point in time. Certainly no separation that provides the debtors with comfort that whatever is provided to the JPLs will not be provided immediately to the Securities Commission.
So basically, Securities Commission has been distributing anything that they get their hands on back to the Bahamian government.
Well, Mr. Shore, what's the relationship between the JPLs and the Securities Commission in the Bahamas? You're muted, Mr. Shore.
I'd like to, at some point, speak to the larger issues Your Honor's referencing and certainly respond to what Mr. Bromley's saying. But in response to your question, the JPLs are the analog would be a Chapter 11 trustee. The Commission's analog is the SEC. So no more than Mr. Bromley can be blamed for or be accused of being an arm of the SEC. The JPLs are a court-created trustee liquidating FTX Digital.
Well, is there any, let me just get to my point. Is there any use in my ordering the parties to mediate this issue, or at least sit down and talk to each other about this issue, or are we to the point where I'm going to have a full evidentiary hearing on these issues and make a decision?
Oh, that's interesting. So he's basically possibly wanting a full evidentiary hearing. Now, if one says we think that you should have an evidentiary hearing to resolve these issues, then that's fine with us. I can almost imagine that FTX is going to say, yes, that's absolutely fine with us. We will provide the information of them doing the shady shit that they've been doing. It does delay the process even longer before the Bahamian government can actually access those funds or even try anything, even if the judge rules in favor of allowing them dynamic access to those. If FTX can prove that they've been doing that, which my understanding is that they have, well, then they're in a shit ton of hurt for doing that. Because basically he'll deny it left and right. But let's see what he has to say.
I'd like to think that the parties can work it out. The one situation we can't be held into or put into is having that meet and confer, having the debtors raise these sort of issues and essentially set the bar as being the JPLs must prove that there was no collusion between the Commission and SBF before they can get dynamic access to the information and then have everybody disappear for the holidays. So essentially we get timed out.
Ooh, so let's hear that again, because that was pretty interesting.
So if what is going to happen here, which is what I was going to propose, is that the court set this hearing for Friday, Monday. I know Your Honor has travel plans, but at least some control.
Doggone it.
So if what is going to happen here, referencing and certainly
Evidentiary hearing.
So I'm going to listen to that again.
I'd like to think that the parties can work it out. The one situation we can't be held into or put into is having that meet and confer, having the debtors raise these sort of issues and essentially set the bar as being the JPLs must prove that there was no collusion between the Commission and SBF.
Okay, so what he's saying is basically the JPL, which, if I'm not mistaken, is Bahamas, but I could be wrong on that. Don't quote me. He's basically wanting not for it to get tied up, and then everybody's off for the holidays, for the Bahamian government to basically empty out everything
before they can get dynamic access to the information and then have everybody disappear for the holidays. So essentially we get timed out. So if what is going to happen here, which is what I was going to propose, is that the court set this hearing for Friday, Monday. I know Your Honor has travel plans, but at least some control date so that if we don't get to resolution, we can at least come back to Your Honor with discrete issues to be resolved. So, for example, we have made very clear to the Sullivan Cromwell team, how about just getting us a clone of the system? We don't need dynamic information right now. We can get back our access right now. Can't you just get us a clone? And Mr. Bromley saying, what I want to do is sit down with Mr. Shore or have our respective teams sit down and they can discuss the shape of a clone. That's not going to work. He can't appear in court today and say, we have no problem giving a clone, but they just need to sit down and talk to us about what that clone is going to look like. It's got to be resolved in the next couple of days, not weeks, certainly not months.
Your Honor, that's a conclusion, not an argument. Mr. Shore has given no.
Oh. So it sounds like the attorney for the Bahamian government is a little aggravated because he's saying, well, that's just a conclusion. So let's see what he has to say.
No indication as to why there's anything that needs to be done in the next couple of days. First of all, and second, Mr. Shore and his colleagues have not simply said we are willing to take a clone of static information. Their motion asks for live dynamic access. And the information that we've provided to the court, and we provided yesterday to Congress through Mr. Ray's testimony, indicates that the Securities Commission of the Bahamas has already collaborated with the JPLs to obtain access to digital assets and to mint tokens. The JPLs have been involved in that. The JPLs went to court after the fact to get approval to approve violations of the automatic stay that occurred.
Ouch.
Mr. Shore can shake his head all he wants. That's what the evidence shows. So we're happy to sit down. We're happy to have a mediation. We're happy to talk about providing static information. But I will tell you, Your Honor, with respect to dynamic information, we can have a hearing on Friday. We will go immediately, and if the ruling is against us, we will go immediately on appeal and seek a stay pending appeal. This is dangerous information. We do not trust the Bahamian government, and because of the evidence we have in terms of the actions to date of the JPLs, we simply don't trust that the JPLs will be able to hold this information and not provide it to the Bahamian government.
Ouch.
Your Honor, while I appreciate your desire to shortcut this, can we just maybe get into the hearing? Because what was just said is exactly what a Chapter 15 is not supposed to be.
We'll see.
And we don't have a Chapter 15 approval yet either.
Okay.
Oh.
All right.
All right. Well, here, hold on. All right. I'm not going forward with the hearing today. It's not going to be Friday either. Probably not going to be before next year because this is going to be a full evidentiary hearing. And for an evidentiary hearing, it's live. And I expect witnesses in the courtroom and presented live before me so I can judge credibility. And that's not something that can happen Friday or Monday or even before the Christmas holiday.
So definitely.
Going to have to go
it's going to be after the Christmas holiday.
It's going to be in January.
Nice.
And I can give the parties January 6th, beginning at 9:30 a.m. As I said, it will be a live hearing. And these are serious allegations, and obviously this is a gating issue that I'm going to have to resolve before we can move forward with how to proceed with the dynamic between the Bahamian proceeding and this proceeding. And I'm hoping there's still some way to resolve this before we get to January 6th. And I would highly encourage the parties to talk to each other, and if you think it would be productive, to find a mediator that could help mediate that issue as well. And I don't know if there's a way to fashion an order, Mr. Bromley, that would limit the ability of JPLs, similar to what you might have in a 502 motion order, that limits the ability of the JPLs to share that information. They can share it with their advisors, obviously, and themselves, and that's it. Maybe that's a possibility of a way to move forward, but I will leave that to the parties to see if you can work something out, and if not, I'll hear everybody on the 6th.
Your Honor, if I may be heard for a little bit on this, because I think there is a other perspective to this, and I think Mr. Bromley's wrong when he says this is not a Chapter 15 yet. We filed, we've come and asked for provisional relief, and ultimately what I'm going to ask Your Honor was what you were mentioning is I'd like you to keep a control date on Friday to see if Your Honor can't resolve not issues about whether the Bahamian government was in cahoots with SBF, which I agree would be an evidentiary hearing, but rather whether or not we can fashion an order that provides protection for the legitimate concerns that Mr. Bromley has raised.
Well,
because I've got to say, right, in the last 30 years, I've seen a lot of mega cases go off the rails where accusations like this fly, and every hearing turns into a charged referendum on the case, and it becomes overly expensive, burdensome on the court, and value destructive. And so when the CRO of the debtor appears and testifies in front of Congress with respect to what the debtor is doing, the investigations that are going on, and that a foreign government has colluded with somebody who is jailed right now, we're at least tilting on the rails. And I just, on behalf of my client, it may come to that, but it's way too early in our case, for this case, to devolve. And I agree with Your Honor. There has got to be a way the professionals can work this out without getting into the kind of accusations that are flying. Right? To be clear, we filed a pleading this morning, Your Honor, that it attaches a declaration that Mr. Ray could not have seen, nor counsel could have seen, which belies this notion that what the commission was doing was working with SBF. In fact, the email they attach, where SBF says...
All right, well, I'm not going to get into the merits of it at this point, Mr. Shore. We'll talk about that on the 6th if we get to it. Let's talk about the...
Oh, he just shut him down, saying we'll get into this on the 6th if possible. He's shutting him down right now.
Let's hold on, Mr. Shore. I want to move on. Let's talk about the 16th. We have the motion objecting to the seal by the U.S. trustee. Is U.S. trustee on the line? Someone from U.S. trustee?
Yes, Your Honor. Juliet Sarkeesian for the U.S. trustee.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Oh, let's see what she has to say, because she's the trustee. She's the one that will do whatever the court asks them to do, but she's impartial on this from both sides. So if basically the judge says you have to release everything to everybody and let the chips may fall where they fall, then the trustee will do that. They'll figure out a way to do it. But basically the trustee, she's the one that, holds the purse strings, and she holds them very, very, very tightly.
I have some concerns about that hearing going forward on Friday from a number of perspectives. Number one, the motion implicates individual creditors, and there's no creditors committee yet. And I think the creditors committee would want to weigh in on that motion. Do we know yet when the committee will be formed?
Your Honor, first, maybe apologies, not the right word, but we had hoped to have a committee formed by this time. We had a tremendous response, and people are located all over the world, and unfortunately it becomes a little bit difficult when people are in very different time zones, and there's a lot of complicated information, as I'm sure Your Honor can imagine. So we are moving as expeditiously as possible, and we hope to be filing a notice of appointment very soon. I can't say anything more than that, other than very soon. I do have concerns they obviously have to choose counsel. And so, I think there's certainly a reasonable possibility that they might not have counsel by Friday, or maybe they have it by Thursday, but there's not, as much time as one would like for them to have. So, Your Honor certainly brings up a valid concern. We had hoped it would be different. We had hoped that we would have a committee formed by this time, but the reality is, due to circumstances outside of our control, it has not yet happened.
Okay. Yeah, I noticed that the trustee also objected to consolidated creditor matrix on similar grounds, on the redaction of the creditor information, I believe.
Oh, Your Honor, that was the motion I was talking about.
Oh, okay.
So there was two motions, seal motions. One of them relates to the indemnification/exculpation motion, and I'll allow debtor to address that, but my understanding, based on discussions as well as the agenda, is that they are agreeing for that to be unsealed.
Okay.
With respect to the other motion relates to the creditor matrix, schedules and statements, top 50 list, pretty much any document in the case that would have names or addresses of creditors or customer/creditors.
Okay.
So that's the motion I was discussing that we did file an objection to.
Okay.
We have not technically filed an objection to the other motion, but that because they said effectively I don't know if withdraw is the right word, but they're not going to pursue that relief on a final basis.
Wow, that's harsh.
I also have the motion to intervene filed by members of the media. I don't know if anyone plans on objecting to the motion to intervene, but I certainly want to give the media the opportunity to participate in that hearing as well.
That'd be nice.
So, Ms. Sarkeesian, should I set another date now in January, or do you want to wait to see when the committee is formed and retains counsel and has an opportunity to talk to you about how to go forward?
So, Your Honor, I just want to be clear. So, Your Honor is asking that the hearing on Friday on the motion to seal the creditor matrix be put off until after the committee is formed?
Yes.
Okay. I think, Your Honor, okay, so you want a date in January. I guess my feeling is it would probably be best if we could schedule that now. And I think a committee is going to be formed in very short order. We're not going to be in a situation, I pray.
Yeah, but you have the holidays coming up.
Committee. So I think that scheduling it now would actually be very helpful.
Okay. My first week of January is booked because I have a 2-day evidentiary hearing in another Chapter 15 on recognition for the 4th and the 5th. I've just scheduled the 6th for a hearing on the relief from stay from the liquidators. So it would have to be pushed into the week of January 9th.
We do have a hearing already scheduled for the 11th, our second day hearing. We put it on that day.
I do see that. Yes. All right. Does that work, Ms. Sarkeesian, to add it to the agenda for the second day hearing?
I believe so, Your Honor. I don't see any problem with respect to that. I don't know what the debtors intend, if they intend to put any witnesses on, but I don't expect. My hope would be that it would not be, if there is testimony, that it will not be extensive. So hopefully that would fit into. If I could just ask, Your Honor, how much time you have on the 11th?
Well,
if there's only an hour, that might be a problem.
I have it scheduled beginning at 10 for the second day hearing. I have 3 other hearings in the afternoon. Probably can't. They're not going to come off. At least 2 of them are not going to come off because they're contested hearings. So we would probably have, I could move it, we could start at 9 a.m. and you'd have until 12:30. If that's going to, I don't know what other objections might be raised at that time to any of the motions that were presented at the first day hearing. I assume, Mr. Bromley, you're going to be calling witnesses for the sealed motion.
Well, we will have a declarant, Your Honor, and that's assuming that we're not able to resolve the issues with the creditors committee once appointed and the district.
Well, if there's going to be a cross, the witness will have to be here, even if it's a declarant.
Oh,
Correct.
so he
All right,
wants
So let's move.
he wants
we're
them
gonna move
there
that hearing
personally.
then, Ms. Sarkeesian and Mr. Bromley to the second day hearing on January 11th.
January 11th.
And Ms. Bromley, circling back on what Ms. Sarkeesian said about the
Don't know if they'll
motion, are we in agreement?
actually
on
air
on
that,
unsealed?
but media will be
Yes,
involved.
we are, Your Honor.
Okay.
Your Honor, if I could just ask a favor for the start time for the hearing. I'm thinking, and Mr. Bromley can indicate otherwise, I'm thinking that 3 hours should be enough, and just based on my schedule, it would be much easier if we started at 9:30 if that did not inconvenience the court.
9:30.
Oh,
Go ahead,
We do
Mr.
have
Bromley.
other things on. I'm sorry, Your Honor. We do have, it is our second day hearing, so we do have a fair amount on the calendar for that day. We're obviously going to work to resolve all of these issues. And I do respect Ms. Sarkeesian's time concerns, but
That's okay. That's okay. If there's any issue, we'll start at 9.
Okay.
I'll make the arrangements.
okay, we'll continue
Thank you.
to work to resolve the issues, just like we resolved the issues for the ceiling on Friday.
All right. The other possibility is we can always, I can try to rearrange and move my other hearings in the afternoon to the 12th, the next day. I will ask my chambers to do that.
So
That would free.
what he just said was basically that he can always move his hearings up just, till later on in the day. It'll be a long day for him, but he wants to try to get this part of it knocked out as soon as possible after, because he's got the 6 at 9:30, and that one is going to be involved, and then he's got other hearings in between. Judges have a lot of work to do, other bankruptcy hearings. This isn't the only one. It may be the most high profile, but then he's basically wanting it's another hearing that he wants to have with his with this committee that they're putting together, which is basically going to be the group of debtors like Alameda, and which there's numerous little entities cross-chained in there, and he wants to get a hearing on that one too.
Yeah, the entire day for this case.
So basically you could push it forward to another
The
day.
other option is if we can't move any of those off from the 11th, I have time on the 12th in the afternoon. We can always continue the second day hearing on the 12th in the afternoon.
I mean, Your Honor, from my perspective, I again, even with the other motions that are on for that date, I don't really expect this would take more than 3 hours or 3.5 hours. So I would not want to inconvenience again the court with trying to move the afternoon hearings. But I also don't know what other motions or applications the debtors might be filing, that retention applications and whatnot that could be scheduled. So if the debtors feel that it's helpful for the court to try to move those afternoon hearings, I don't object. I just don't want to inconvenience other people if it's not necessary.
All right. Well, that brings me to the next issue, which is the liquidator's motion to dismiss that was filed on Monday.
Oh.
And set for the 11th,
That ain't gonna happen.
which Mr. Shore, in the future, if you that was not an omnibus date. That's a second day hearing, so it was not an open invitation to schedule something. You need to contact chambers to request a date for, particularly a motion like a motion to dismiss.
Yeah.
It's going to be an evidentiary hearing.
Understood, Your Honor. We'll do that in the future, and I will discuss it with Sullivan about when that can go forward.
Okay. Yeah. Let's find another
Yeah.
date to handle that one. All right.
That ain't gonna happen. Just saying.
That brings me to, I wanted to ask about the motion for recognition. Where are we on that, Mr. Shore? Are we going forward? What's happening?
We're still trying to see if we couldn't resolve that. I think that's going to be part of a package of discussions that have to occur kind of now to see how we're proceeding.
All right. Well, let's try to get that resolved as well here. So let me kind of circle back then to the request by Mr. Shore to have the 16th as, I guess it would be kind of a status conference on where the parties are on the issue of the relief from stay.
So this was
Ronald, you have
the past 16th.
everyone was going to be available anyway, so I assume everybody's available.
I do believe yesterday.
We are available, Your Honor, and we would like to have the opportunity to meet with the folks from White & Case. We would also like to include in that conversation the Securities Commission of Bahamas, who we think is an essential party to this conversation. Look, I think our view is that we would be amenable to mediation. We believe that before you go to mediation, you should at least sit down and try to talk about it. We know that the Commission has U.S. counsel because they have contacted us on other matters. We believe that they're hopefully now with Mr. Bankman-Fried in custody in the Bahamas, there might be a way forward that we can move along with a cooperative relationship. If this is going to be an attempt to see...
Now, if you think about this, so the Bahamian government has SBF in custody. It is probably not the most pleasant place. I don't know. It could be rat infested, lice infested. He may be secluded. It may just be a 2x2 cell. I don't know. But they've got him. They've got him in custody, awaiting extradition to the United States. They can hold him indefinitely, especially if they're going to be bringing him up on charges. So one of the issues that FTX has a problem with is that the Bahamian government, if they get all of the passwords from SBF, where that is completely locked down, you cannot access anything on there. And I'll show you what can actually be accessed if I can still pull that up. See if I've got that somewhere. So if you pull up FTX, see here, find this here, FTX. So let me share this here because this is going to be pretty interesting. And so this is what the website looks like if you pull up FTX. So what it does is basic, and this is where I got this document from. So if you pull up FTX.com, this is what you will end up with, which basically it's saying that on November 11th, then it goes, a meeting of creditors will be held telephonically on December 20th at 10 a.m. So that's going to be coming up, looks like Monday. And then you've got hearing on the first day motions, debtors first day, so that's your December 14th. That's your December 20th. And this is what that looks like. Just go back and do that a little bit later on. So December 16th, they have a omnibus hearing. And then on December 20th, they're going to have another meeting. Notice of meeting, and basically this one right here is amended notice of a genuine matter for scheduling filed by FTX, hearing scheduled for 12/16. You can't read this, what I'm seeing. And it's going to be held in Wilmington. The notice of meeting is notice of meeting of creditors, commitments of case to be held telephonically, filed by FTX Trading. That's to be held on 12/20/2022 at 10 a.m. With the U.S. trustee for location. So we've got a couple of dates coming up, which is, 14th, which was this one, which was basically just scheduling all of these hearings that are going to be coming up. So that being said, we continue on with this little audio clip.
Control of these debtors' cases and move them to the Bahamas, we will fight them with all our strength.
Let me ask, is there anyone on the call from the Bahamian Securities Commission, just by chance?
Yes, Your Honor. This is Blair Rennie from Brown Redneck.
This is Kenneth Olet, also from Brown Redneck, Your Honor.
Okay. You can turn your cameras on so I can see you, please.
Oh,
And
put your pants
just
on.
To be clear, Your Honor, while we're attending the hearing to observe, we are not entering an appearance, and the Bahamas Security Commission is not consenting to personal jurisdiction in this court.
Well, I was only going to ask if you were willing to sit down with the joint liquidators and the debtors here to talk about a path forward.
Oh,
Your Honor, we will take it back to our client. We are always happy to discuss.
Okay. I think it would be helpful, might help resolve some of the concerns that the debtors here have, if they can talk to the commission. So I would highly recommend doing that and encourage the commission to participate in that discussion. All right. So I'll leave the 16th on then as a status conference to see where we are on this issue, on the
this right here.
Our motion for relief from the automatic stay and the turnover of the records, and we'll go from there. We'll discuss. I didn't set a date. Did I set a date for that one? I didn't set a date. We'll talk about that on Friday, I guess. When that would be. Or did I set it for? That's what I set for the 6th, right? January 6th. Yes. Okay. So that's set for the 6th, and we'll discuss on Friday, see where we are, and see if it's necessary to go forward on the 6th, or if there's something else I can do to help accommodate the parties' attempts at mediation.
Good. What time on Friday, Your Honor?
It is currently scheduled at 10 a.m.
There you
We'll
go.
just leave it at 10.
Very good.
10 a.m. on the 16th.
And we'll be busy between now and then.
I bet. Anything else? Mr. Landis, you turned your camera on. Do you have anything else?
Yes, I did, Your Honor. I just wanted to note for the record, Adam Landis Raffing Cobb, co-counsel to the debtors. We will file an amended agenda reflecting Your Honor's rulings and the moving of the various hearings. We'll get that on file as soon as possible.
Okay, great. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, anything else then before we adjourn? Well, thank you, everybody. I appreciate everyone getting.
Well, and that's really it, because basically they've got a scheduling for the 16th at 10 a.m. And that's just most of this is they're trying to move as quickly as they can. January 16th at 10 a.m. Most of the time, they're just trying to get some of this stuff moving as quickly as possible. And you will find that, this could have come at a better time, but it looks like they will probably be talking more about this in a little bit further on. This lawsuit could go on for years. If you want to think about it, all you have to do is just look at something like some of the other major companies or crypto exchanges that had these same kinds of issues. It was not pretty or enjoyable. What was the I'm trying to think off the top of my head, and I draw a blank. It's just one of the major ones that it took years for it to actually settle, and they're still trying to get all of those funds, all of the Bitcoin holder funds back to those Bitcoin holders. So that's the kind of bullshit that people pull. There's SBF is going to not be enjoying his life for quite some time. It's going to be a little bit rough on him, but I guarantee you that, he can have a nice little crystal meth sex party as much as he wants to. And that's what he'll be doing. Maybe we'll dig into that at some point in time. Hope my lights are festive enough for you. They seem to be festive back there in the back for the holiday season. Looks like I'll probably try to do a couple of few streams in between here and there, whenever time allows. It gets a little bit busy for me around the holidays, with my lovely wife, spending time with her family. So I tend to be out of town for, the few days before the Christmas holidays, and I'm usually back before the new year, but no guarantee. I'll probably not take any time, just because I want to be spending time with my wife around the holidays. So sometime after the holidays, I'll be back on. I'm going to be doing more regular streams. I just need a little time to clear my head from all of the Christmas food. Christmas stomach, more like. But my plan is to set up a more rigorous schedule of streaming. If you see this and there's things that you want to hear discussed, things that you find interesting, I'll be more than happy to pull that information up and, open up to whatever is being discussed. I've got some things that are on my mind. I'd like to, get with some other creators and actually sit down and, communicate with them and, do some interviews on, some of these guys that, I mean, we already know how they tick, but what really, what gets them in that complete, how they're able to, I don't know, I can't really word it. I just really would like to get some other folks on here to understand their points of view, because, my point of view is what it is, and it's maybe a little screwed up, but hey, whatever. And I'll hit it hard next year. I'll probably, beginning of the year, start using a little bit better software for it. Currently, what I'm using is it's a little iffy to use. Working on getting a logo set up, and see if I can get this thing up to a couple hundred regular followers to come on here and harass me and give me a hard time. I haven't even been looking to see how many people are following. I try to, I've got, at the beginning of the year, I'll probably go over a lot of the stuff that I want to cover. And, these are things that interest me a little bit. So, if you find these kinds of things interesting, just hit the like and subscribe, jump on. And, I'd like to find out what is a good time for other people, so maybe it just ends up being that it makes your day and gets you through the weekend, or if your schedule works out better, that you'd like to see more streams, in the middle of the day. If it's, middle of the day streams that are really getting more views for you, then I'll be more than happy to jump on in the middle of the day. I'll maybe take a little bit of time off from my regular day job, but most of the time this is about the time that I'm going to be coming on. It's anywhere between 8 and 9 until I change that schedule up and find what really is most sustainable for me, because I'm not really worried about everybody, but if I've got a good time that's working for other people, I want them to be able to enjoy it too. So I'm having fun with this. This is all new, and it's really interesting, and hopefully we can get some other people on here. But other than that, I think I'll call it a good night, and peace.
Exótica.